Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's Hollywood on the Rocks. Today on the show, we're talking The Boys season finale. I saw it. I've watched every episode of season 5 and the finale. I have some thoughts. Plus, we're going to talk about Spencer Pratt's campaign for LA mayor. A new video dropped today. We're going to watch a couple of those. And I want to point out some clips from podcasts to kind of get to know how Spencer Pratt may have a huge effect on Hollywood and bringing the industry back. But let's actually get Alan in here. Where is he? Someone help me out. Did you realize that the pronunciation of your name in Huttese is ooh?
Yes. Yes, I did.
That's great. Well, good.
Right.
I didn't know it. That's what Huttese apparently. That's how you pronounce Alan. How's it going, man?
Good. Busy. Not getting things done.
Well, your internet was out. There was a question of whether you'd be on the show today.
Well, I was going to be on. See, because I spent the last hour getting my Starlink put together, and then I had to resubscribe for another month, which cost me $70. And then just before the show starts, my internet comes back. So I'm on my internet. I'm not on Starlink.
That's great. Well, you can do Starlink from anywhere, which is always good. Let's say hi to the people before we get started. Andrew Cram gifted 5 Film Threat memberships. Thank you. Cole Hauser. Hail Chris and Alan. Praise Ara. And Lord Thoth. Bushuda. And
Bushuda.
Yeah. You do it. You do that.
I just did.
Do it again.
Bushuda loco pasaska abading. What are
you talking about? Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, sign up as a member, join us on Discord, Rumble, and go to shop.filmthreat.com. Check out new t-shirt and merch designs. We put up pretty much new designs every month, and then we retire them. So when you buy something, you're not going to run into anyone else wearing the same Film Threat shirt. So pick your size, pick your color, pick the design, and grab yourself some Film Threat merch. I see our interns, our dutiful interns, are actually modeling these shirts. So check them out. And today also, I failed to mention, we have Roy Price, former Amazon Prime executive, who wrote an article for the New York Times that we actually covered. And we're going to talk to him about what Hollywood needs to do to revitalize the industry. He had a radical idea, Roy Price. Look him up. He had a very radical idea. His radical idea is you should make fun movies. That things have been less fun the last nearly decade. So we will talk to him. And D. Goodhart, member for 25 months. Thank you for your membership for over 2 years now. Just saying hi, guys. Hope you have a good show. I love that. Let's get into it. A couple of things here. Damon Lindelof on his version of the sequel trilogy. What do you think he had to say? First of all, I have not seen this. I am really curious what he has to say. But he did an interview recently, and he had some things to say about all this. And I want to see, Alan, we'll talk about it. The sequel trilogy, I think everyone agrees, was a failure.
I'll tell you what he said. There wasn't enough diversity. There wasn't enough women.
It's not going to help, but let's see what he has to say here about the his version of what the sequel trilogy would have been.
True, which is the movie just needs to be great and give you feels. And I was completely and totally out on Rogue One as a premise. And as I've already stated earlier, it's sort of like, holy shit, this movie is fucking amazing. I care about these people, even though I know what the outcomes are ultimately going to be. You whatever process they went through in order to get the end results, I thought was a triumph. And so I'm like, that's me being wrong. And just to talk about the bantha in the room, I was fired off of a Star Wars movie. So asking me, they asked me, what do you think a Star Wars movie should be? And I said, here's what it should be. And they said, great, you're hired. And then 2 years later, I was fired. And so I was wrong, at least through that prism. But what we were attempting to do, my partner, Justin Britt Gibson and Raina McClendon and I, what we were attempting to do was to have this conversation in the movie, which is to say there is a force of nostalgia and there is a force of revision, and they are at odds with one another. And let's do the Protestant Reformation inside Star Wars. And it didn't work.
Sounds amazing.
And so you kind of you have your cake and eat it too. But the conversation that the fandom is having without winking and looking at the audience, and that didn't feel necessarily that risky. And I may have been fired, not just because they seemed to like the premise. It was just the writing was really hard. It was slow, like the tone, getting it right, where it was inside of the canon, what its relationship was to episode 9. Is it starting a new trilogy? Is it like all of those things? They're so massive. They're so big. It's like to say this thing, it's the old like sort of like tanker equation, which is you turn the wheel and it takes 5 minutes before it turns a little bit like this. And so I think that idea of like, we're looking for the center of Star Wars. And when episode 7 came out, we all knew what it was. It was Rey and it was Finn and it was Poe. And it was like all these, we were migrating back in Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie and all those guys. But we've got the sense that when this new trilogy was over, we were going to be launching with these new characters. And that was the center of Star Wars. The new question is Mando and Grogu the center of Star Wars now?
I think that's what.
Are they? Are they the center of Star Wars? You and I have seen the movie, Alan.
Yes,
I can unequivocally tell you, if they think that these two characters, which are very lightweight, fine for a TV series, an episodic TV series where you have a problem, solve the problem, and you're good. They can't. That's not the center of Star Wars. Was Luke, Han, and Leia, which they chose to ignore, not Finn, Poe, and Rey. What are your thoughts on what Damon Lindelof had to say?
Gosh, part of me is like, well, he's kind of right, but then you realize this is Damon Lindelof talking. I don't know that he would have gotten it right either. I just the more I listen to this, the more I realize, boy, Star Wars is real screwed. There's just no one at the wheel knowing what to do, and he's right in certain areas. You could turn the wheel a bit, but it's going to take forever to change it, to change course. And I don't know. I just question his motives in talking right now.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like whatever but look, if you've got him on a podcast, you're probably going to ask this question. And he was, publicly, he was involved in, developing Star Wars. So there is there's like the nostalgia, old Star Wars. There is a need to introduce new characters, propel it forward, but you didn't really, what everyone wanted, they didn't give people. And I'm totally open to new characters, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that, but you didn't make the movie people wanted. And I think that left a bad taste in people's mouth, and trying to force new characters down the throats of fans didn't work.
Now, was he involved in after episode 9, or was he involved in the original sequel?
He wasn't really clear, because he was talking about obviously he was fired. It didn't get made.
Yeah, but I thought he was involved in episodes 10, 11, and 12 versus 7, 8, and 9.
Whatever they hired him for is never going to see the light of day. And he didn't finish it.
Yeah. Plus, Dave Filoni's at the wheel now.
Yeah. But this whole podcast, they just heaped on the praise for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, I don't know.
Look, makes you realize that Carlton Cuse was the genius behind Lost.
Yeah, I would agree. Hey, I want to get into it because we're going to bring Roy Price on later to talk. But I need to tell you about the series finale of The Boys. I honestly, I really enjoyed The Boys season 1. I think it's fantastic. First season was awesome. Kind of an examination of superheroes. And that truthfully, while they may be heroes to the public, to the media, forward facing, the reality is these people are complete a-holes and evil behind the scenes. Now, you could look on this as an indictment of politicians. I think it's a very on the nose about celebrities, but the theme of The Boys and how all the characters kind of, dragged into this mission to take out and expose the worst of the heroes, the worst being, of course, Homelander. It's a great premise. And I'll say this: love the characters. I love Carl Urban as Butcher, Jack Quaid as Huey, other characters, Frenchie, Mother's Milk, Starlight, and the idea of the Seven being like a Justice League. Love it. From season 1, was hooked. And as each season continued on, it became more and more one-sided politically, which I think when people look back on the show, it's going to seem dated. Like, ooh, that seems very 2017. And it just became more caught up in political commentary centered around Trump. And it look, I think every president has in some way influenced media and kind of how we feel about the country. But this show did a terrible job. I don't mind critiques of both sides, but this show didn't dish out the critiques fairly. Not at all. The real highlight of it, before I talk about the finale, and I will get into spoilers, I want to talk about Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander. The only reason, and I've watched all the seasons, and I finished the finale just before we went live, and I'll say he is the star of the show. And when he's gone, I don't know that I not only care about this show, care about this universe at all. He is one of those villains like a Darth Vader. When we talk about Star Wars every once in a while on Film Threat, you take Darth Vader out of the equation of Star Wars, it's not all that interesting, right? I mean, Darth Vader, at least in the 6 movies and partly some of the sequel trilogy, is a driving force. Even when Vader is no longer alive or on screen, he's a force. And they keep dragging the character into other shows like Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, all that stuff. Anyways, back to The Boys. His performance as Homelander, that was the driving force behind the whole thing. And oddly, recently, and I'll bring up the tweet here, where Anthony, I'm going to share this real quickly because I think this is an important thing to look at. Anthony Starr didn't really want all this. I'm gonna share this before I get into the finale and the spoilers. But here we go, real quick. In this post, right here. Eric Kripke reveals Anthony Starr's goal was never to create Homelander as a Donald Trump parody. This is from Entertainment Weekly. I totally understand Ant's point of view. He's like, I'm not doing a caricature. I'm trying to create a character with a consistent internal life. And I absolutely agree and respect that, Kripke says. So we'll just work on purely internal logic and character motivation, and we won't bring Trump into it all that much. Well,
He failed.
He kind of failed at that, oddly. But let's get into the finale. And I told you you could watch the finale and not even have watched the previous episode, boys. The only maybe last episode, because some big things happened there, but the whole thing has been to put the whole driving force is a plan for Butcher, Huey, and the gang to take out Homelander, as Homelander is being groomed in the media and by, and help from all of his cronies to turn him into the second coming. He will literally be God, replacing Jesus in the Democratic Church of America. This has been the driving plot. And they have a virus that could kill Homelander, but then he took a new version of the virus, the original version, to make him immortal. He's unkillable at this point. But they have a plan to turn Kimiko into a weapon that could sap Homelander of his powers, turn him into a regular human. That's the goal. And it turns into a showdown at the White House. And this image you see here, which is from the comics, you see on the poster promoting the boys, that's right out of the comic. It's Homelander hovering above the White House with Butcher on the lawn, and he's surrounded by other heroes in a standoff. That doesn't happen. It plays out not in I won't say it's small, but I'll say because I feel like I like to torture myself with this. Like, I don't like what happens in the show, but I care about the characters. I care about Huey and Butcher. I care about the characters. But this finale was a colossal disappointment. The whole standoff takes place in the Oval Office in a fight to kind of get Homelander in a position where Kimiko can use her power on him to take him out. And while all that's happening, I kind of feel like it should mean something. And when the inevitable happens and Homelander is not just killed, he's humiliated. I shrug my shoulders. I think, what's the point? What do we did we feel anything? What was the point? Did we learn anything? No. And this is a completely aside. Does every character have to speak in the most vile language ever? It's like all the characters are written by the same writer's room. They don't have individual characters. Like, they all, when they go into this sort of filth speak, they all sound alike. It's the same writers writing the same vile monologues for every character. So they all sound the same and they're not distinct. That's a side beef, and that's troubled the show from the beginning.
Did your mic go off, or
is my mic off?
And is that your mic, or is it?
No. Is there another sound? Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Okay, you can hear me. That's Alan, you can't hear me. So everyone else can hear me. So there you go. Why don't you go and come back, Alan? Let me finish this up. Lori, please tell Alan to go and come back. Thanks, everybody. You can hear me. All right. Finishing up my review is that it was just I'm sitting here watching this. It's now 5 seasons into this show. And once you've gone that many seasons, you begin to see the cliches. The cliches just reveal themselves. Everything, it's like, this is going to happen. Butcher will say, give a speech. They get around. Here's the plan. The plan goes wrong. And then it leads to the same result. Now they just finally took out the most likable, because look, villains in fiction can be very popular. And I think Anthony Starr as Homelander is one of the most popular villain characters. Like, he's amazing. But what they did to the show, and what I find really kind of funny too, is the way the show resolved, is that the one thing they didn't really deal with is that these people have been propagandized to hate the Starlighters and hate Starlight. How are they going to deprogram from the media telling them what to think, and then suddenly the world is okay? It was very bizarre. The ending to me was disappointing. But what's the one thing I can say about the show, in all its like overt sex and gore, at least the last episode was, the first half hour isn't boring. Then they spend a half hour of the episode on all this resolution and all this like epilogue. So ultimately was disappointed. Now that Homelander is taken out and everything is, quote, resolved, I don't know that I want to see any more Vought stories. I mean, Soldier Boy is very interesting. A prequel series with him, not sure how much I care about. So as it is, a disappointment. I think this would have been better at 3 seasons and without the looming, constant harping on Trump stuff, which wasn't necessary to make a great character, which Anthony Starr points out. So that's where we'll leave it. A disappointment.
So they killed Trump.
Effectively.
They must feel good about that. Finally, the catharsis.
Let's go to comments. And Alan, please take your cell phone away from, I'm getting a crackling. I don't know what your technical problems are today. We can take off that banner that says spoilers. Okay. All right, let's go through the comments. We'll start with Soups here, and we have other stuff to get to.
Super Friend-a-Man for $2.49. Why was there no nooner today, Chris?
Because Gary is going to Japan, and he has to make videos. So the nooner will be canceled for the next 3 weeks.
So
there you go. Thanks, Super Friend-a-Man. So all the super chats you would have given to the nooner on
bring him here
on today, bring them here. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to forget about you.
Yeah, no need to put your wallets to rest. We are your safe haven for your super chats. Aspirations of Mediocrity for 2. Kripke proved again he can't deliver a good ending.
It just didn't mean anything. Like, it just led to, it was very predictable.
You just need to wrap it up. And they did.
Yeah.
Bruce Leroy Jenkins for 2. Alan's future rear window fun. No, it's not going to happen. And the front windshield is repaired. The video will go up for members later today.
Yep.
A 30-second video. Aspirations of Mediocrity for 2. Chris, you just don't get Kripke's genius. You don't get it, Chris.
I think he could. The problem is TDS. It broke a lot of people. It's unfortunate.
Bruce Leroy Jenkins for 2. Nooner Tax.
Thank you, Bruce Leroy Jenkins. Appreciate you. That's great.
Andrew Cram for 10. Chris's baseball bat travel bag.
Thanks, Andrew Cram. Wow, you remember that story. That's great.
He needs baseball shoes with it and a mitt.
Look.
What?
All I know is if you have a baseball bat in your car, it's considered a weapon. If the cops search your car, make sure you got a ball and a mitt. You're good.
But if you just had the bat and the ball, it's still considered weapons. Mars Monkey Max. Why can't just try to get the legacy story right first? Am I reading this right? Instead of force feeding us the agenda-based stories.
Now, see, when I read posts like that, what I do is I actually fill in the correct grammar. I know what Mars Monkey Max, the intention. I know what he's trying to say. And first of all, I've given super chats like on my phone while I'm typing it. It's kind of a hassle, or I've commented. We all make typos. I can read it. Why can't you just try to get the legacy stories right first? Don't try to.
I thought that was my dyslexia reading it. It's like,
don't
am I
worry.
reading this right or what?
You're good. But thank you.
Seed. The center of Star Wars is rotten to the core.
Thanks, Seed 69.5.
D. Goodhart thought the first season of The Boys was very good, but after that, it was diminishing returns. And like Disney Star Wars, it became a chore to watch.
Yeah, the thing that kept me was the characters. I like the characters a lot.
Ola Liu Kui, Immortal is even stupider and lazier than time travel. Immortality,
yeah.
Good Seward for 5. Have you seen Banshee? Anthony was so good in that series.
I have not, but I will see anything he's in that I can find. That guy is great. Yeah, Banshee. I'll check it out.
I think I saw the first episode, and I believe it had boobs, some spectacular boobs in it. Marty is ruling. The ruined Homelander. They ruined Homelander a while ago. Rinse and repeat storytelling. English Bachelors. Frenchie's note was just foul, man. Totally not. I can't read today. Frenchie's note was just foul, man. Totally not funny at all.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time today. Sorry.
Do you need coffee?
I don't know.
Energy
I
drink?
can't read for some reason. Frenchie's note was just foul,
reading
man.
is actually part of your job, so you need to let me know.
Frenchie's note was just foul, man.
All right, let's cut. So Frenchie's, the Frenchie note at the funeral, which opened the episode. It was dumb. Just my problem with, I don't mind the foulness, but it's so often that it diminishes moments that could be real. The show will never be real, and it breaks up any hope of having some kind of real emotion with a foul joke or something involving assholes, which is what that whole speech was about. So there you go. There you go. So is everything working now, Alan?
Seems to be.
Seems to be. Okay, cool.
You seem uptight today.
I'm a little uptight. Yeah. I'm a little uptight.
Yeah.
Hollywood can make a comeback. How do I know? Friend of the show, Joseph Kahn, wrote a post that is getting a lot of attention. It's getting, this thing has gone viral with people quote tweeting, including myself, this post. And I'm going to read it and we'll talk about it. So your job here, Alan, is simply to
Yes,
listen.
I got it, Chris.
The problem with LA is the everything's fine people. These are people that came to LA after its heyday and during its decline after the financial crash of 2008. The more recent the transplant, the less they are aware of what Los Angeles used to be. They have no idea all the areas that used to be lively, or that there was a world-class music and nightlife scene. If you mention there were homeless people shitting on the streets everywhere, they call you a MAGA fascist because unhoused people have rights too, and everything's fine. If you mention entire neighborhoods like the Pacific Palisades did not burn down, they say you should not be blaming the mayor for the weather, parentheses, which is controlled by global warming Republicans, and everything's fine. You can say it's really not normal for so many shops to be closed all over Los Angeles with empty storefronts, or they'll say something about equity and that everything's fine. The street vendors on sidewalks in front of Koreatown restaurants that are shutting down, that's totally fine because that's LA culture. No, it's fucking isn't, newbie. Crime, everything's fine. These theater kid transplants from Michigan say, why are you complaining? Move somewhere else. They don't know what they don't know. And then they drink a $20 Erewhon smoothie thinking that's the height of LA culture. Everything's fine. And they have the this is fine with the little puppy in the burning building. That was written by Joseph Kahn, friend of the show. We've interviewed him, film director. And this is my point. Not enough people are complaining. And look, other people are pointing out that the real heyday of LA was in the 80s. But I remember, because I moved here in 1989, I remember the 90s. It was a restaurant, party scene, different kinds of party scenes. You know, it was also affordable. At that time, I was young, moved here. I rode a motorcycle to save money because insurance and gas was cheap when you rode a bike. I rode a bike for like 10 years before I sold that motorcycle. And it saved me money, including on parking as well. And it was vibrant scene. And people don't know what LA was like in its heyday. That's why people are saying everything's fine when we all know things are not fine. Alan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, you came in the late 80s, 90s, early 80s, 70s. LA had Skid Row. It was pretty bad. It was they made movies about it. I believe Judgment Day. I don't know if you remember that one with Emilio Estevez and Cuba Gooding Jr., where guys were stuck getting out of a football game and they got caught on Skid Row. That's what LA was like. That was based on that LA at the time. And then transformation occurred. New buildings, restaurants. You could actually go downtown and do things. And suddenly we're back to the way things used to be in LA. I could claim that, when we had conservative mayors running LA, that things got better. But it's like we're back again. We're back again. And it's just the incompetence of the mayor and the mayor's office has been this way for a very long time. And somehow it infected Sacramento because the whole state is turning into a shithole.
Let's talk about the LA mayor race. I believe that Hollywood can make a comeback. I'm an eternal optimist. I just am. Have been all my life. I've got that sort of weird Luke Skywalker I think things can be good. Things can get better. They will get better. And I actually reposted this. This is the latest Spencer Pratt video that came out. I'm going to share it with you, Alan. You got to see this. And it's they bring in superheroes. We've seen other videos. This is from Charles Curran, who's been making a lot of campaign videos. And this is the Marvel and DC matchup we've always wanted to see. Check this out.
He's winning!
People realize they're not powerless anymore. You know what that means? Mothers can take their kids to the park again. No more free pussies for migrants. No more free teeth for meth heads. Is this getting through to you? You'll have to get real jobs like everybody else. I want your evilest ideas.
What if we make BBQs illegal?
That's evil. That's good. I want you to throw everything we've got at them. I'm just one man.
I gotta be. I get choked up when I see this because I've seen my city get destroyed. I mean, it's a look. Moms can't just be out with their kids at the park. The parks are overrun with drug addicts. This is not about one city. This is about simply enforcing the law so that if you can, I believe that if Spencer Pratt can prove that you can save LA, this is a model that you can copy in Chicago, in Portland, in Seattle, in Boston, in every city run by progressives that has gone down the toilet. It can be saved. And even more than that, Spencer Pratt was on the All In podcast. And I have a clip here where he talks about what he will do to help the industry. And let me bring this up. I want you to see this clip, and then we'll both talk about it on the other side. Here's what he had to say on the All In podcast.
One of the other stories about LA over the last decade or two, you know, I grew up here. I have a lot of friends who grew up in Hollywood in the industry, and it's been gutted. There's no business in LA anymore. And that's a huge employer for so many Angelenos working in Hollywood and all of the ancillary supporting industries. Do we rebuild Hollywood in LA? Is Hollywood done because of AI and YouTube and independent production and studios don't matter anymore? No one does broadcast. What's the future of Hollywood? Is there a future for Hollywood in LA, and what do you do about it?
So when I was 20 years old, I sold the youngest ever, so the first reality show to Fox as the youngest executive producer ever. And I sold it to Peter Chernin when he was the co-chair at News Corp. It was with David Foster, who's actually hosting my fundraiser on Monday, full circle. Shout out David Foster, legend. But I called Peter Chernin up a few weeks ago. I said, Mr. Chernin, PDC, how do I save LA? It's one of the smartest human beings on earth. And he said, Spencer, as mayor, you're not going to be able to change the bigger picture of Hollywood. That's more governor, uncapped. What you can do to really bring back jobs, bring back Hollywood, is bring back independent filmmakers, independent production, independent artists. You prioritize the indies, you could have Hollywood booming in a tier that people didn't see coming.
Let's fucking go. A new indie film revolution in LA with the mayor that's behind it.
And all my friends who haven't given up, that are still, because I grew up in LA, I went to Crossroads. All my friends are creators, they're artists. They're still fighting. They're not giving up. When I talk to them, they've all doubled down on the indie route. When I talk to them, they say, this is what we need to hear. We want to make this work. And you work with them. Mayor Bass brags about like, oh, now you can film at the Griffith Conservatory instead of 70,000, it's 30. No, when I'm mayor, I'm going to help you produce these freaking movies. We're going to have whole blocks, and we're going to use the restaurants to keep them alive. And we're going to use the crews, and we're going to eat out of there. We're going to use all the city resources to almost be in production with the indies, but making money together, not like a communist or socialist, but bring the city, enable, give them the support, get rid of these fees, the clearance, make it easy. Right now, like I said in the debate, I talked to producers. If you want to film on the streets of LA, it's so unsafe. You got to pay gang members off to get it. We're going to have it so safe that an indie crew can pop out with all their cameras and gear and nothing gets stolen. So again, someone like Peter Chernin, I said, Peter, when I'm mayor, can I keep calling you? And his exact quote, I'm always here to make you smarter, Spencer.
Awesome.
So these are the type of people that say, oh, you have no experience. These are the people that are going to make LA number one.
But
Let's go. Look, because you and I have worked together for years, Alan. I don't know everything. And I may be good at kind of these things, but I know the things I'm not good at. And what I try to do is bring in other people who can make me and you look good, who are better at things that it's like, I look on Film Thread as kind of like we all have different superpowers. Okay. That's what a good leader, I think, does. You recognize other people you can bring in. And I mean, what I know about filmmaking, I haven't made a lot of movies, but I did a feature comedy for $500,000. I did a documentary that, got people seem to like it, still selling the Blu-ray. I made some films. I've been involved in helping other people make films. Filmmaking is a team sport. And one element of that team is getting your local officials on board with doing everything they can to help create an indie film revolution in LA. It can happen. Alan, your thoughts?
My thoughts. I'll tell you, don't want to get overly political here, but one of the things I like about Donald Trump is that he brings a businessman's mindset to politics. Every movie he makes is about bringing business, growing business, making money. And that mindset seems to be working. And honestly, that mindset is the only thing that could save LA. So for someone to come in and says, how do I get business booming again in LA? Because if you don't have that, and if you're in this mindset that you want power and you want money and you want to tax everyone to death, then you don't have a business mindset. In fact, your mindset is to drive business away. The reason why indie films aren't made is because it costs too much money because of fees and licenses and all that stuff, as opposed to the mindset of the city is going to survive only if we do more, only if we do more independent filmmaking, only if we do allow people to make it easy to open restaurants, open stores. That's the only way you're going to save LA. And quite frankly, that's how you're going to save California too. Spencer Pratt, I can't vote for you, but I hope you win. I mean, I can't because I'm not in LA County.
Alan, you can vote for him. They don't.
Oh, that's right.
ID.
I can't. That's right. I can go there. Not only can I do that, I can vote many times.
Well, look, you don't need a ID to vote. So I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything. I'm saying that's what the law is. So make of that what you will. But people are enthusiastic because you have a mayor that understands the core business of this city, runs on entertainment. And if people in the entertainment industry are doing well, they're spending money and going to restaurants. And that helps people who work in the service industry. I'm from Detroit. I saw firsthand, I saw the decay of that city when the auto industry went all over and diversified, and the city, you know, I saw it slowly collapse. I want to end on this with one other quick thing. This is Spencer Pratt. Just another fun thing that he said.
Socialists, many have compared you to Zoran Mamdani in the sense, I mean, your politics are obviously very, very, very different, but in the sense that you've really harnessed the power of social media to get your message out. What do you think of that comparison?
You know, the one thing I connect with is I know he promised his voters, like, the subway will be free. And I'm promising my voters the metro buses, the metro trains, they will be free from urine, feces, stabbing, attacks. So that's kind of similar. We both had free things for public transportation. But, you know, I think he connected with people because they felt like change. They wanted change. That message would never connect here because we've already been doing the socialist experiment pretty much for 6+ years, and it's failed here in Los Angeles. So I think my message is why it's resonating on social media is it's the truth. It's authentic. It's from my heart. I didn't want to be a politician. I'm standing in what happened because of failed politicians. That's what
they were trying to compare him to Zoran Mamdani, kind of turned it into a joke, which I like. So look, and I think the reason he's gotten national attention, Trump may endorse him. I hope he doesn't, because
actually he already has.
Officially.
Yeah, it's in Deadline. It's there's a news article about it.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
Deadline just posted the article.
See, that could turn people off. All I'm saying is he's got national attention because he's just telling the truth. It's common sense. There are fentanyl zombies everywhere in every downtown. Crime is rampant. Even though they say it's down, it's because of the way they're reporting it. And I've seen my city collapse over bad policies. Enough. We're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. I have a lot more to say about this in the coming weeks, and we'll stay on top of it. But really, I just want to see my industry come back, entertainment. I want to see my friends who work in production. I want to see them working and making money. I want to see my daughter be able to go anywhere in LA and not be harassed by homeless, drugged out on whatever they're taking. I'm sick of it. I'm done. I am done. And I want to see people wake up. If you have to hold your nose, fine. But I want to see us come back. And the reason I believe, the reason they see Spencer Pratt as dangerous is because if he proves this can be done, if you can clean up a city by simply enforcing the law, you can't sleep on the street, you can't deal drugs, we're not going to have programs where we give out free needles and free stuff. We're not doing it. If he can clean up LA, it can happen in every city in America. That's why Spencer Pratt is dangerous. That's why he's getting national attention. And that's why Donald Trump apparently endorsed him. I hope people can ignore that and simply vote for a person who is committed to common sense policies that work for the tax-paying citizens of the city. Let's go to comments. And I want to address these comments. We have our special guest, Roy Price, see what he has to say.
Yes, G-Man for 5. Does Spencer's video blend Marvel and DC characters? Not sure how I feel about that from a candidate.
Well, you'll have to, by the way, that is not from Spencer Pratt's official campaign. That is from Charles Curran, an independent filmmaker who's been using AI to make AI videos that support Spencer, but he is not. So that did not come from officially his campaign. I will say this. You are allowed to use with satire. And he also parodied Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and Spencer Pratt. Okay. In that. Now he used characters from Marvel and DC, whatever, but it's no different than a political cartoon. We'll see. I mean, it doesn't necessarily really bother me all that much, because the reason his videos are resonating so widely outside of even LA is because other cities have the same issues. And all he is pointing out are these issues, and they can be solved. Let's read some more comments. And
well, he was actually saying he's blending Marvel and DC characters together. Those two universes should remain separate. That's what he said.
Well, check me in 5 years when they do Marvel versus DC.
All
Let's
right.
keep going here with comments. And Roy Price will join us shortly.
Bruce Leroy Jenkins, Skid Row, great band.
Thanks, Bruce.
Laura Buckles, Pepperidge Farm remembers.
There you are.
Killer Mike G, you telling me I can visit from Texas and vote in LA? Challenge accepted. Yes.
Yeah,
I also realized that I look like every other Asian, so they wouldn't know.
You could vote. I might go and get some rainbow shirt and a mask,
Mm-hmm.
and like totally. Maybe I'll get a fake
You
note.
could do that, yeah. Killer Mike G. Oh, sorry.
That was a joke. That was a joke, by the way. That was a joke.
No, we all want to see an assless chap. Techniques. Maybe I'll fly to LA for one day to vote for Pratt. You wouldn't be the first.
I'm not. All I'm saying is, if you did that, it would prove that voter ID is a good idea. Not using voter ID is a bad idea, because people that are seriously suggesting it, they're they can do it. You can just come in, you can say I'm unhoused, not show your ID, and vote for who you want to vote for. And that is not a good thing. And so we should have voter ID. How is that radical or MAGA? I'm tired of MAGA being used as an insult.
Yeah.
It's
the problem is, if you enact voter ID, they'll lose.
Well, they could.
Yeah. MK Solid. Trump said he likes Pratt. He didn't officially endorse him, but the media is running with it.
Yes, I think I read that correctly, and you did not read the whole story, Alan. He likes him.
Good. Thanks for.
But he didn't do an official endorsement. But the trades are trying to position it that way.
Right. I'm telling you what the trades are saying. That the trades are saying that.
Well, read it more closely. You'll find out he was not.
No, I understand that, but I'm telling you, the trades are the ones that people read. They don't read Trump. And so
I hate to do your research, but I'm going to do your research, Alan.
No, I did do the research. I'm saying that the trades are saying that Trump endorsed it, and that Nithya Raman is posting tweets and everything saying that Trump has endorsed him.
Guess who is ratioing Nithya Raman for every post, everything she posts? This guy. Thank you to those who liked my post. So, yeah.
MK Solid. Trump said he likes Pratt. He didn't officially endorse him, but the media is running with it.
You already read that one.
Okay, that's the only thing I can read. Two is you got to change what is the deal with you, Chris? You have been on me all show. You have to call out every little thing I've been doing wrong. What is up? What is up? Tell us
well,
Tell us how I've been failing you, Chris.
If you didn't do things wrong, I'd have nothing to point out.
No, you keep calling it out on the show. It's becoming, it's like, you want me to read the comment, but you won't change the comment.
I am having
the comment that's on
I'm having fun on the show today.
No, it sounds like you're on edge. Something's going on.
I'm a little on edge.
Yeah, and it's trying to piss me off. All right, liberal women. I want to hear the song "I Love L.A." again.
Oh my God! Well, look, Roy Price will be joining us momentarily. Let's talk about some other things. Let's talk about Charles Curran. Charles Curran is and I don't know how, I don't know how people feel about AI art. But Charles Curran has been posting these these LA mayor videos, and he does not officially work on the campaign at all, but he's certainly had an effect. He's also not the only AI artist that's talking about Pratt. Other people he's kind of inspired people. But there was an article, I don't know if you have the notes for this, Alan.
Yes, I do.
There was an article in on this website called Pirate Wires. The AI filmmaker outrunning Hollywood, Charlie Curran, is making AI generated movies about Iran and the Rizzler, among other things, entertaining millions and building an AI film studio while Hollywood panics. And by the way, we are going to get Charles Curran on the show, but he declined an invitation, not because he didn't want to do it, but he said he wants to not take attention away from Spencer Pratt. If you would give us what's in, tell us what's in this article, Alan, if you would.
All right. Charlie Curran has become a viral sensation by creating fast turnaround AI generated short films based on breaking news, raising new questions about the future of Hollywood filmmaking and internet culture. Unlike the dismissive label of AI slop, Curran sees himself as a filmmaker using new tools to accelerate storytelling rather than replace creativity. He argues that AI cannot invent the core idea itself. It always starts with a funny idea, he says, adding that instinct and timing are still human skills. Hollywood's reaction to AI remains deeply divided. Major industry figures have warned about synthetic performances and AI-generated actors, especially after the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike centered heavily on AI protections. James Cameron called AI-generated performances horrifying, while Luca Guadagnino warned it could signal the end of the industry itself. Curran rejects that pessimism. Longtime filmmaker with a background from Savannah College of Art and Design, has spent decades making commercials and films for companies like Nike and Google before embracing AI filmmaking. He argues that the best storytellers should have access to the powerful tools regardless of whether they live inside Hollywood's traditional gatekeeping system. Curran recently launched Menace Studios in LA, a AI-focused creative company already working on brands, agencies, celebrities, and content creators. He claims there's infinite demand for AI-generated video content. While advertising currently pays the bills, his large ambition is building an independent AI-powered movie studio capable of self-distribution, inspired by legendary producer Roger Corman. Throughout the discussion, Curran criticizes what he calls Marvelification of Hollywood, arguing that giant blockbuster budgets have made studios increasingly risk-averse. He sees AI as a way to lower costs and open doors for stranger, riskier, more personal filmmaking from younger creators. Curran believes AI could be more the Sputnik moment of Hollywood, forcing the industry to evolve creatively again. In this view, technology itself is not the enemy. It's just going to come down to taste, curation, and distribution like it always has.
Well, what are your thoughts, Alan? I think, we cover AI, as it relates to the industry. We've had on Justine Bateman, who's very anti-AI. We've had Roger Avery on, who's pro-AI, and he's raised money to make movies that use AI. What do you think? I mean, I the thing is this: I see good arguments for both, for both, and I see how it's affected the mayor's race. But what do you think about all this?
What do I think about all this? Look, I'm enjoying it in the short snippets. I'm enjoying it for the use of satire. I'm all for it, and he's right. I think unless something turns around in Hollywood, I believe this is the only way independent filmmakers are real. It's a tool that will finally give independent filmmakers the ability to compete with the big Hollywood studios. It's still not perfect. AI still looks like AI. But again, if you don't have the money, if you can't afford explosions on the streets of LA, well, AI is there for you.
Hey, Now it's time that we have our special guest, Roy Price. He has a storied career. He's been around the industry a while. He has a common sense way of looking at things. And in a recent editorial in the New York Times, he kind of said out loud what a lot of people have been saying for years in a way that wasn't really super radical. Common sense. Let's welcome to the show Roy Price, and let's ask him about this piece in the New York Times. Hey, Roy. Great to meet you.
Hey, Chris and Alan. How are you?
Good.
Doing great. Doing great.
I've seen you on my TV.
I don't even know how to describe you. I put Hollywood executive Roy Price, but you've got, I mean, you know, that's maybe one way to describe you. How would you describe yourself?
I think that's fine. Either Hollywood or tech or, but you know, let's go with Hollywood.
Let's go with Hollywood. Now, what you have an amazing storied career. You were one of the founders or the founder of Amazon Studios.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I was the first person on Amazon Video. So I did all the plans and hired a lot of the people and launched the product, and then made the case that, you know, everyone was going to do original content. And that was more controversial. A lot of people disagreed with that and felt that a, you know, technology retail company should really not be in original content. But ultimately, we decided to do it. So I went over to Amazon Studios and started that. So it was, again, just, you know, you and your laptop in the cubicle, and hired everybody. And at first we did television, we did comedy and kids. And later we expanded into drama, and we entered movies as well.
I mean, I remember, wasn't there like The Onion had a TV show on Amazon, or like a pilot or something?
Oh yeah, we did a pilot.
I mean, was that the time? It's if I remember right, that was a time where you're kind of, Amazon was inviting, you know, indie filmmakers to make TV shows and movies, and then give a platform on Amazon to do that. Am I mistaken in that?
Well, there were kind of two parts. There was the upload your script, you know, and,
Yes.
and we'll look at it part. And then at some point, though, we said, hey, you know, we need to get some movies and TV shows going here. So we're going to have to do it kind of the regular way. Because the output from uploading scripts and so on was not super high. We did get one show out of it, but otherwise, that was it. So eventually, you know, we did the normal thing of hiring execs and writers and stuff like that.
And we just earlier on the show today, we talked about The Boys. The series finale came out. I think it's getting mixed reviews, to be honest, but that first season was a banger.
Yeah, that was like my last show at Amazon, and I think that was great. Evan and you know, I think it was kind of breaking. It was very different in its first season. Obviously, I had nothing to do with the recent seasons, but that was a really fun show.
Already distancing yourself from The Boys. I can't believe it.
No, no, it was great. I would gladly put it on my resume.
Now, what I'm curious, because and I'm going to put up on screen so people can see this. We covered this weeks ago. Came out in March, the article in the New York Times. And I'm reading it. I'm going, a lot of people have been saying this for a while. What prompted you to want to say this out loud on such a big platform?
Well, I just think you know, people are always talking about how Hollywood is not working and movies are failing. And for a little while, I've been saying, you know, I don't know if the problem is really the audience or COVID or whatever, because, you know, whenever we put out like a good movie, people do find their theater and they seem to know like where it is, you know? And so I think the focus needs to be on, you know, let's do movies that are just fun, that people enjoy watching. Like, I don't know how to make that sound more intellectual or whatever, or complicated, but I think it's really just not that kind. It was overcomplicated for a while, and there were a whole bunch of priorities for a long time. I think kind of from 2016 to recently, like 2025 or something, and a lot of not great movies, and a lot of certain types of movies that people wouldn't do anymore. So like you couldn't do like a really funny comedy, you couldn't do an R-rated comedy. And so like comedies fell from like 20% of box office to like 3%. And people say, oh, that's because they're all on streaming or something. But I don't see a lot of funny comedies on streaming. I saw one the other day that was pretty funny called Balls Up by Peter Farrelly on Amazon.
Yeah, we covered that. That's funny.
Yeah, but it's quite rare. It's not like, oh, that's one of 12 we could mention over the past year. That's one of like one that we could mention that was funny.
Do you think it's because people don't like comedies, or do you think there's active gatekeeping to keep comedies, erotic thrillers, rom-coms out of the system?
I think that for a little while, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It doesn't sound like you have a mic on, though.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll try that. I think that for a while, there was something about comedies that people thought were sort of like politically incorrect. Like it felt like there was a political angle, even if there isn't really a political angle. But they were definitely disfavored. I think that, a lot of people, it was funny. I was talking to a person one time who was kind of a corporate communications person. And she said, well, Lloyd, why do you often make jokes? And I said, well, because people like jokes. Like everybody likes jokes. And she said, not everyone does like jokes. I think there was just sort of a moment where a lot of people who didn't have much of a background in comedy were getting to like the top of networks and stuff, and so they were kind of disfavored in that way as well. So I can't figure it out entirely, but that was a big gap. I feel like there's a genre which is, I can't actually make these work, so I could probably figure it out. But
all right, we can hear you fine. But
yeah.
What prompted you to write this piece? You mentioned Sydney Sweeney. You mentioned Bridesmaids, which I think it's a great comedy.
Hilarious.
They just did an anniversary screening of it. And you mentioned those kinds of movies aren't being made today. So what prompted you to want to write this? Because I think there's a whole class of people in Hollywood that want to be seen to be a savior by making movies. And I think Hollywood forgot you can just make entertaining movies. I think there's room for message movies, movies that win awards, but basically your basic comedy, romantic comedy. I mean, the romantic comedy genre basically went away for a long time.
Yeah. Well, not only that, it was sort of out for a while, even to have a romance in a movie at all, which is, it's kind of problematic because, that is something that people like generally around the world. And, it helped make movies good for a long time. And for a long time, that was sort of, at best, deprioritized. And then Sydney Sweeney, again, came out with, what was it, Anyone But You? And then people were like, oh, see, this actually does work. And, The Housemaid was good. And The Housemaid is not trying to do anything other than be a fun movie, period. And it was a fun movie and it did really well. And then Project Hail Mary came out and I felt like that was kind of the same. And I mean, they're totally different, but they were the same in that respect. And so it just seemed like it was worth pointing out, hey, people want to go to the movies and have fun. And we should do that. That's a good idea that people should embrace. And also maybe we're at the end of an era and the beginning of a new era. So let's make the most of this era of fun.
I mean, let's just being honest for a second here. You mentioned the year 2016. Did Trump break Hollywood's brain? Did they just like, I mean, in the sense that like everyone just, I think it's harder to come out as conservative, and I don't know what your politics are. Anyone can agree with fun, and it really doesn't matter. But it's harder to be a conservative in Hollywood than it is to come out as gay or trans or whatever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I do think it had. There was some relationship between the election and the shift in culture. There was just some feeling that like, oh well, that happened, so we've got to do X. We got to do something. Like it has to, manifest itself in our work. And I generally think that's a bad principle. Like the more, like often what happens is the arc of, a lot of talented people is like you're talented, you have like a couple awesome movies, and you're, living in Burbank or whatever. And then you make the big move to Malibu, and like half your time now you're thinking about, state Senate race number 7, for California state Senate. Like that's the kind of event you're going to in the evening. And that person tends to never make another funny movie in their life.
So
you spend too much time in the car, you're saying, thinking to themselves?
Yeah, you're listening to the political podcast. Now that's what's on your mind, and I don't know if it occupies the same part of your mind or what, but if you're too political, I think in any direction, you lose some of the, how can we make this a super fun movie? And that's all I'm thinking about. And it's really hard to make a great movie if you just have one goal, which is making a great movie. But if you have like 5 goals, then it's like impossible.
Yeah, one of the things after reading your article I was thinking was, Hollywood stopped entertaining and they shifted to preaching. And I don't think the average person wants to go and pay money to see a movie where they're getting preached at and told that they're not a good person. They just want to, everyone who spends money wants to be entertained, period.
Yeah. There's probably an audience for the other stuff, but and again, you can't be thinking about 3 things. So if you're coming up with all of your 40-page rule book about how you're going to make movies from here on out, and that's kind of what you're thinking about, it's going to hold you back. You're just going to have more movies that are kind of in the middle and aren't that funny and pulled back from romance. And you got to give yourself all the tools that you could possibly have to succeed.
Well, it's funny, Alan and I, we see every movie that's released, nearly every film that comes out in theaters. Between the two of us, we see those movies. We notice trends. And romance, you brought that up. Movies are not just lack of romance, they're desexualized. We noticed a trend. We could do a montage of people that bump foreheads rather than there'd be a moment where a couple would kiss. Instead of kissing, they bump foreheads. This was in Furiosa, the Mad Max movie. Yeah, they don't kiss. This is the moment they would kiss, but they bump foreheads as some sort of like desexualized. Yeah, I don't know why that is. I think everyone loves romance in a movie.
Yeah.
Just weird. Have you noticed like a desexualization of films?
Yes. Well, that was another thing that was definitely out. So nothing could be sexy or no one could be like hot. That was all verboten. Being funny was bad. So, sexy or funny or attractive, these are all bad notions and they need to be put to the side. And, I just, there are only so many arrows in our quiver here. And, we should be hesitant to start throwing them out.
We've got like 1,000 people watching, over 1,000 people watching live. We've got a few questions for you from them, but let's go here. Alan, you ready?
Yes. From Techniques. Roy, could Tropic Thunder be made today?
Definitely not. I mean, however, with the codicil that I do think we have turned a corner. and we are in a new era. You know, sometimes a new era comes like overnight. You know, suddenly Easy Rider and Midnight Cowboy came out in, I think it was 69. And, you know, you forget those were the number 3 and number 4 films in terms of box office that year, which is incredible when you watch them today. But, you know, the musical was over and something new was happening. The 70s had begun. And I kind of think that, you know, I think there's a shift happening now. I think if you're an exec at a studio and you're still thinking like it's 2019 or something, then you know it's really just hard to support that.
We'll just keep going with the questions.
Yes, Retro Electrical for 5 asked Roy about the insane first season of Amazon Studios where they were giving away millions of dollars for users to make test films.
Yeah, there was this theory that if you had enough ideas, you know, uploaded, that we could find some great movies. And I actually think if you did that today with the technology we have now, with the ability to make AI trailers, that it would work, because people will watch trailers, even AI trailers. And so you could imagine, you know, getting feedback and making the, you know, turning your idea into something fun and exciting. But at the time we couldn't do that. So it was just like upload your script, and nobody wants to read a script. I mean, even, you know, in Hollywood, like try to get someone to read your script, but even regular people don't want to read a script, you know, that's why it's a job. And so this was, I think it was a little ahead of its time. Like if you tried it today, I think something good would come of it.
Was that, did Man in the High Tower come out of that one? Or?
No, the only show that came of it was one called Gordimer Gibbons, which was a kids show, which was actually excellent.
Yeah, I remember watching the Onion News Network or something like that. I thought it was hilarious. It was like a throwback to Airplane. ADL's 24. Roy, your father Frank was one of the truly legendary executives in the history of the industry. What were his thoughts on where things are going, but before his unfortunate passing last year?
You know, to be honest, he watched so many movies and so many TV shows over so many years that, you know, he died at 95, but he got into the business in like 1950, right? And so from 1950 to, I don't know, 2010, you know, he's doing 60 years of consuming every movie and TV show. And so by, you know, when he was in the home stretch for like the last 10 years, you know, he had kind of shifted to books, you know, so he didn't have a lot of commentary at that point. You know, sometimes we would talk about story and we would talk about setting up Amazon Studios, and he did have opinions about that. And he always thought story was the most important thing, and you know, working on things until they're great. You know, like I don't know how many drafts of Tootsie they did, but you know, at least 15. And you know, many of the drafts prior to number 15 or whatever it was were, of course, very good. But you know, they kept at it until they had it truly golden brown, and that's he certainly reinforced that. But he didn't like watch, you know, Project Hail Mary and have an opinion about it.
All right, for Christopher Moonlight Productions, Mr. Price, there are now more indies making their way into theaters. Amazing Digital Circus, Iron Terrifier, and finding success than ever. What's your advice for filmmakers skirting the system?
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of people who are YouTube filmmakers that made a movie for like $1 million or $2 million.
Yeah.
Like just this past weekend, the movie Obsession made for $750,000. It grossed 17 million at the box office.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
what do you think of this trend?
I mean, you know, if you're a young filmmaker or any filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker, there's no question you should be all over YouTube and TikTok. You know, that's kind of like it used to be harder. I mean, I think James Wan made like one scene to show what Saw would be like, and then it got picked up off that. But today, you know, you could do that and put it on TikTok or whatever and get like 100,000 views, and you have real evidence that, you know, people like this thing. You know, I'm not trying to convince you that this is an interesting story. Like, here are 100,000 people who think it's an interesting story. So that is pretty compelling. And, you know, if you're doing a lot of shorts or trailers or what have you in that context, you know, people are definitely scouting it. So this is a huge improvement over where we were 20 years ago, where, you know, you had to, I don't know, make a short at USC Film School and try to get it to people, but it was much harder.
More questions here.
Yes, AD Ellis, having developed some of the best Disney animated series of the last 30 years, or Disney animated series, Recess, The Weekenders, Buzz Lightyear, why do you think the current crop of kids' entertainment lacks artistic diversity?
Yeah, I mean, the whole kids world is kind of in a problematic state because not that many people participate actively in it. So, you know, HBO kind of stopped, and Amazon, you know, we had a kids animated program for a while, and I love that kind of show. But then Amazon stopped it, and now basically there are cartoons on Netflix and on YouTube. And on YouTube, it's very hard to break in, and like no one's really going to pay you to make a cartoon for YouTube. And you know, so there aren't that many people who are being competitive and trying to do interesting things in the space. And it feels like there are fewer opportunities than there were. But, you know, if you can get something to hit on YouTube, obviously it can be big, but it's a lot of work. I think you have to have like, you know, if you don't have like 30 or 40 episodes, people aren't going to like buy into it. So it's a lot of work before you get to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So it just used to be better supported. You know, when there was Disney, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, there were a lot of people going after it.
Is it that the numbers weren't there, or is it that the people in charge just didn't pay attention to it?
Well, I think recently the change has just been that, you know, Netflix and YouTube dominate kids' TV so completely that there's kind of no point you're being in it if you're not one of those two people.
I think YouTube is just TV now.
Yeah,
YouTube is TV. With the Oscars are going to be on YouTube in 2029. I think that's partially a rejection of the format of award shows. I think people are kind of tired of award shows because of actors that give lecture speeches. I think that's the huge turnoff, right? They just parrot the same, you know, points, and then people just, I mean, I think Ricky Gervais said it right. So now we've got the Oscars will be on YouTube. So
Yeah.
that's a huge shift.
Yeah, but you know, YouTube actively shut down the kids' content.
Well, they have YouTube Kids now, so you can put that app on your iPad or whatever and turn it on, take it to Cocomelon, give the iPad to the kid, and you know, drive to Lake Arrowhead or whatever.
It's like a separate ecosystem.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting question right here.
All right, from Mello for 10, what would it take for the raw style of the 70s to return? Studios fail, and the different type of actor. I just watched Marathon Man and was blown away.
You know, I think it's interesting. I wonder if you agree that I feel like films, and especially television, have kind of in the past 6 years or so lost a sense of aesthetic. Like, what is the look of your movie, and why does that matter? It's kind of like every TV show looks the same, and most movies look the same, except for like Euphoria, and Nick Refn is coming out with a movie that looks cool. He always shoots a very cool movie. You know, Tarantino can sometimes conjure that sort of 70s-ish vibe, and people just have to be doing it. You know, there have to be filmmakers who are prioritizing getting a certain look, and the studio has to buy into that. and then if it does well, then great. But I'm actually not sure, because if your film doesn't have a look, then I think it's really losing something, and it takes something away from cinema in general. If everyone's going to abandon, we're just going to all have this same generic aesthetic, that I don't think that helps.
Yeah, there are whole articles that have been written about the Netflix look. It's kind of a flat lighting.
Yeah.
That's kind of
It's
bland.
consistent all over Netflix original stuff.
Yeah.
The other one, ironically, Amazon. I just started watching Spider Noir, and boy, does that have a look all to it.
Oh, is that right?
Oh,
yeah.
We'll talk about that later this week.
Well, I think The Boys had a little bit of a look, and Transparent had a very different, but some of that 70s vibe. Had a great DP on that show. I don't know if you saw Cold War by Pavel Pavlovsky, but that was amazing, and that was black and white. It looked beautiful, and more people should pay attention to that.
But I know in your article, and I know a lot about this era of film. I'm around your age, Roy, so I remember the 70s being this kind of it was an era of change, great change in the industry. Genres like the musical you mentioned in your article, the big musical died, and then Easy Rider was this surprise out of nowhere, and those early 70s movies, they kind of they inspired a whole group of these young filmmakers. They were young upstarts during that time.
That whole book, whatever it's called, Raging Bull,
Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. Yes,
I
know.
That everyone has read.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some more questions here.
All right, Joe Pat for 999. Hot take: as far as KidVid goes, YouTube can be problematic as a leader. Too short form, constantly always watching content that length can adversely affect attention and critical thought.
I mean, I believe it. I mean, I don't think if I had a 1-year-old right now that I would be handing over the iPad with Cocomelon or whatever.
There's a whole movie about that, Toy Story 5. The whole theme of that movie is an iPad is introduced and the toys have to compete with the iPad.
Right. Yeah.
So,
what is good for the kids is some of the older shows, like even going back to Leave It to Beaver and all that. It's, of course, totally family friendly, really good stories. And we used to do that, and it was great, and the kids loved it when they were young.
Yeah.
I just
Brady
can't imagine.
Bunch.
I can't imagine what Leave It to Beaver would be like now and how it would be cast. I don't want
to. It's so well done.
Yeah.
So well done.
I grew up watching it. It was morality tales. That's what it was. It was all morality tales, and it's really simple and funny. I liked Eddie Haskell in that show. Anyways, more questions here.
Okay, D. Goodhart. Are studio heads actually fans of movies these days? I tend to think they're not. You need to return to people like Robert Evans.
Yeah, prime Robert Evans. You mean?
Yeah.
I suspect everyone loves movies when they get into the business. By the time they're running a studio, I think sometimes it's just a theory, and I'm not a psychiatrist, but I do think sometimes it is faded, and they're like career goals. There's other stuff like that, but they're not going to sort of geek out with you about the first Star Wars or the look of Marathon Man or anything like that. I do think for some people it fades, and I think when it has faded for you, you should leave, because the whole thing is these have to be good movies, and they don't become good by kind of not paying attention to them or turning them into thinking of them as widgets or something like that. Like it kind of requires everybody to be on their game, even the people who are not the filmmaker. Like there are many ways an executive can screw up a movie, and try not to do that.
Were you around Disney during the Eisner days? Or
yes.
I mean, I read his book, but it sounded like when he first joined Disney and even at Paramount, he was an executive who really cared about stories and movies.
Oh yeah, I mean Michael is great with story. Really knows movies, and Katzenberg also an expert. Having the two of them together produced great results both at Paramount and at Disney, where they came in '84 and took it from like zero to more or less what it is today. So an amazing run.
Yeah, they saved Disney. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah.
More comments and questions. I know we're keeping you longer than I said, Roy. Hope you. Okay, here we go.
All right, Bill S. Preston Esquire. Jurassic Park used CGI, but most CGI in the past 20 years suck. It's not the tool; it's the talent behind them. Same with AI. Same with everything.
Do you have a comment on CGI and its use or maybe overuse? I know Project Hail Mary, for example, they didn't use green screens, and a lot of the effects were practical, including Rocky the alien.
I know. I kind of can't believe that. I mean, that's a bold choice, and it worked out great. But I agree with respect to AI. There's obviously a lot of bad AI, and there are also a lot of bad drawings, and there's a lot of bad everything. But some people are actually good at it, and and they've made some pretty interesting stuff. So it does indeed depend who's at the controls.
Yeah.
All right. The Moral Remus question for Roy. Streaming shows seem to enter pop culture zeitgeist like their TV predecessors, but streaming movies struggle. There has been more 20th century TV movie cult followings. Thoughts?
I think that's right, and I'm not sure why, but I think partly it could be that people think of a real movie as a movie that goes to theaters. So if your movie is not that, and it's just going to streaming, where it's a lot harder to say whether it was successful or not. I think I'm not sure people are equally, fired up, behind the scenes. And then from an audience point of view, I think they have slightly lower expectations and are maybe paying attention a little less. And so it's hard to, make it really work and make it great. Like, I can't even think of a straight to streaming movie that I ever thought was great.
There's only, K-pop Demon Hunters, which was supposed to be in theaters, and Netflix got lucky and picked that up. And then they released it in theaters after it had been on Netflix. And then it won the Best Picture, Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. So that's maybe only an example but there is no cultural resonance for streaming movies, but there is for TV shows. I think that's for sure.
Well, because the TV shows are coming to you kind of in the regular way that you're familiar with. Like they've always come to the TV, and now they're on the TV. So like they seem like TV shows. But these are movies that their path to skip something that at least subconsciously I think people think is important. Like a real movie should be a movie that is at the AMC. And I think it affects the psychology. So at Amazon, we put either every movie or almost every movie in theaters, and that was an early decision that I think now people think is right.
I mean, Alan reviewed Balls Up, the movie you talked about seeing. He said it should have been in theaters because comedy that's raunchy like that is best experienced in a room with 100 other people.
Laughter is infectious, and that movie was definitely set up for that.
You got to be in a room with a lot of other people who are also laughing at this, at the absurd thing. Like if you're sitting alone on the couch or whatever, it's not the same. You can watch any comedy from the past, watch, Ghostbusters or something. It's like mildly funny. You have to be in the theater. So, and it's a little odd, a little confusing to me with that movie, why it got a 4.7 on IMDb. I think IMDb is usually like, somewhat reliable. Like I would definitely argue with whatever it gave, like Lost in Translation, like a 7.5 or something, which I think is nuts. But on the whole, pretty reliable. But that movie did not do well. And I think if it had been in theaters and people were rating it who had seen it in theaters, I think it would be like, 7.8.
Yeah. This is from Rumble. Sallyon for 5 says, I enjoy your stream. And I want to ask a sort of last question here. We kicked off our show talking about Spencer Pratt, the LA mayor's race. I don't want to get political or whatnot, but he's really tapped into, people are kind of angry about the policies they've seen that have destroyed the once great city of LA. I moved here in 1989 from Detroit. I'm from Detroit area. I love Los Angeles in the 90s. I'm sure you remember it well. It was a great era. That's when indie film really rose in the 90s with people like Quentin, among others. What's it going to take to bring Hollywood back? What's it going to take to bring production back? I have friends of mine who are indie producers. They make movies for, small budgets, under 10 million, but they don't shoot in LA because of the unions and because of insane rules. So they're making movies in Kentucky or Ireland. What's it going to take? And could Spencer Pratt really help bring the industry back?
Well, I think that things have not been getting better in Los Angeles and have been getting a bit worse for quite some time. And I think a lot of people are open to the idea that maybe we should try something different to see if that will work better. And I'm kind of, I'm sympathetic to that camp. And with respect to specifically films being shot here, I think the solution has to be at the federal level. I'm sure there are things that can be done at the city level, but I think the main thing is that the whole thing of all these incentives from different states, we have to take a look at that from a national point of view and figure out if that's what we want. If we had every single state making all these offers to take, Wall Street workers to Kansas, and then the next year they go to Detroit, whatever. I don't know. Is that useful for the country, or is that something we should maybe oppose? So I think there are probably things we can do at the federal level if it gets prioritized.
And I guess one final question here. I just want I don't get to we chat on Twitter, on X. I follow you and like your tweets. I feel like I've gotten to know you through just your common sense. You have a sense of humor too. But one thing that I think is also missing, and a huge missed opportunity, especially since this is the 250th anniversary of the U.S. I remember 1976, when it was the 200th anniversary. That's how old I am. I remember that. It doesn't seem like we make American movies anymore. And even the recent Superman movie by James Gunn, they kind of took off the truth, justice, and the American way. We used to make movies that were American in spirit.
Right.
We used to make movies that championed the blue collar workers, working class. I think about movies like the Clint Eastwood movies, Every Which Way You Can, Any Which Way But Loose. He's a trucker, and we used to even Star Wars is about a war veteran, a trucker, and a farmer. When you look at it, when you drill it down, have we stopped making American movies? And does Hollywood have a problem with an American spirit? Do they somehow see that as something they're afraid to champion?
Well, I do think it's an opportunity. There's a category that I think of as kind of the low-tech American action movie, which is kind of like Dirty Harry or maybe Walking Tall or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why shows like that couldn't succeed today. I think they would. I think a lot of people think that, maybe the international audience, we need to make everything kind of generically international. So we can make In Bruges, but we don't want to make In Dallas or something like that. And I actually think that's a mistake. I think if you're selling American movies in Japan or whatever, they know they're American movies. They don't mind that it kind of has that character and that vibe. And there is a vibe there. Like even The Matrix had a kind of sophisticated international aesthetic, so you don't get, kind of, I don't know, Smokey and the Bandit kind of vibes, where you're like in an American car driving around fast. You're a little worried about the cops. And that is just kind of a vibe that has gone by the wayside. But, if you made your movie that way, people could love that it's, it's going the other way on that issue. I think it is an opportunity.
Yeah, I think there was just something where Hollywood made movies that America was proud of itself because we all were on the same page. We all love this country, flaws, warts and all. We love America, but I don't see that in movies anymore. And I even see it avoiding it, and I think it's a huge, especially if it came this recent Superman movie that seemed to just avoid all of that altogether. Because I love foreign films. I love a movie from Korea or Ireland, or there seems to be there. I love movies that have a cultural feel, and I feel like there isn't a cultural feel to American movies anymore. I think a huge missed opportunity. So
I'm with you.
I'm with you too. Hey, Roy, thank you so much for doing the show. Follow Roy Price on X. We'll put the link to your X account there. And you're hilarious, Roy. I love your jokes.
Oh, good.
Screw those people that didn't get your jokes in meetings, but I don't know.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be on the show. Love the show, and keep it up.
Thank you, Roy. Thanks again, Roy Price. Everyone, follow him on X. Take care, Roy. Have a great afternoon.
See ya
later. What a great guy.
No, that was amazing.
What a great guy. That was awesome.
Someone who knows.
Someone who's been in the trenches. What are we doing here? That was great. Yeah. I don't know what to say now. That was awesome.
It's like, confirming a lot of things, but making me think about a lot of things too.
We're going to have him back because I have things to, when Rings of Power comes back.
We're just going to blame him. We'll bring him on and
get some stories out of
Look
Roy.
what you did.
This was just, we're dipping our toe in and we appreciate him. Let's go to the people here and see what more comments. Hey.
Oh, Targo the White. I'm in for 27 months. Try and get on whoever does the PsyOp anime channel.
Yes, we will do that. PsyOp anime. I subscribe to a lot of YouTube channels. Let's look at that channel and let's, are they doing original content? Thank you, Torgo. Appreciate you. I'm going to just subscribe to it. And I want to say thanks to our mods, Lord Thoth, MK Solid, ADL is 24, Ololique on Rumble, Christopher Moonlight Productions. Thanks to Alan.
And thank you, Chris.
Yeah, we just, look, we are coworkers. We support each other. And part of that is giving each other shit.
Yes. Because I find it interesting that you didn't do the nooner and yet you're more ornery.
I'm excited. Wait, I'm excited that you're watching Spider Noir.
Oh my gosh. I've only seen the first episode. I'm like, I love this show.
Yeah. Okay.
I love the look of the show. I love the feel of the show.
We cannot talk about it until Friday, and we will talk about it Friday. I wanted to talk about The Boys finale today because you know what's going to happen on Friday? No one will be talking about it. Like it's really just dropped and like, that's your ending. And that was it. I'm bummed out. I love the characters, love that world. I would have liked to have seen different things happen. Just they could have.
Yeah, I mean,
the
for a
damage
show
was done seasons ago. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, for a show that tried to be different and unique, the way you described the ending sounded fairly standard, or like they just need to end the thing.
You literally could have not watched anything only watched the last episode and known what was going on because they're always trying to take out Homelander. So they finally took out Homelander, and that was it. That's it, folks. That's it. Hey, thank you so much. We are back Friday. Another filmmaker interview. Lots of reviews Friday, including the spoiler review of The Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm seeing Passenger. Alan's reviewing In the Gray. And we will watch Ladies First with Sacha Baron Cohen. We're going to watch that on Netflix. I'm getting up very early.
We will try. We will try.
What do you mean we're going to try? I'm going to get up early and watch it.
Okay.
I'm going to
usually when you say we're going to watch it, it usually means I'm going to watch it.
No, you got to suffer with me. So we're reviewing a lot on Friday. We'll get to news we missed. We're talking to the Hellgate filmmaker, DJ Remark. It's going to be a big show Friday. Come back and join us. And Alan, wait. Don't say it yet. Don't say it yet. You know what to say, Alan. Hit me.
What? Don't. Let's get out of here.